Hi, I'm Dan Lindstedt. I'm here at WWDVC 2024 with my good friend and business partner, Cindy Meyerson, who also happens to run DataRebels. So we are in the process of wrapping up the conference, and this year was a spectacular success. We had about 90 attendees, I think, is that what it was? We had 7 vendors or exhibitors, thereabouts, and we had 3 sponsors. Just incredible group, incredible crowd. We also had Chris Date, the last session here that we just finished. CJ Date himself, one half of Cod and Date, in case you've ever studied relational form. This is one of the few places in the world that you can actually see him teach. And let me tell you, it's an eye-opening experience. He's a phenomenal individual. So Cindy, what are your thoughts on what went on this week and what was good about this week?
Well, I think first of all, it was just such an awesome 10th anniversary. So we had the unique opportunity to roast Dan via song, which was really a lot of fun. People got together and did some really creative things. And for those of you out there that contributed to the video that we did for Dan, thank you. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time. He was completely surprised, and so it was great. We had this was probably, we say this every year, this was the best conference ever. Yeah. And so it just puts a little pressure on us to figure out what we're going to do next year. But it was really great. Business Day was fantastic. Having MIT here, Gilles Simler present on, his concepts. I love this of sticky, squishy, and what was the other one? Spiky. So it was really an interesting conversation with what they're doing at MIT and how he's proceeding with his team. We had a number of universities here, which was also phenomenal. And so that was really good. And of course, my son presented this year, which was wonderful, on leadership on the Business Day. We also had our Finnish friends here on Business Day talking about, leadership and also how to basically run teams and work with AI in the business and why it's important and some of the steps needed for the business to understand what they're about to get into. We had a lot of AI conversation this year and understanding how to use AI properly, especially, some of the things like, Chat GPT. And so we learned a little bit about some up and coming sort of small language models that are going to be capable of embed into some of these applications, which was really quite interesting. So a lot of great conversation. Paul Hooper, came from Emerson now and talked about how they're handling data mesh with DataVault. That seems to be a common interest in our community. So it was great. I really... Our attendees, many of them were here for the very first time, and we're just really impressed with the community and feeling so welcome here. It's always just such a great conference. So,
yeah, and if I remember right, last year you did a presentation on data mesh, and it was just standing ovation. I mean, everybody loved it. It was how data mesh and DataVault aligned. And a little birdie told me you're working on something. Can you just elaborate a little bit about that?
I'm working on a book specifically addressing the methodology, the approach for DataVault in a data mesh environment. I firmly believe, and I've been sort of had this affirmation from a number of vendors and other practitioners, some of whom have been working in data mesh, that the only way you can actually do that properly is with DataVault, because DataVault delivers the how, even though the theory or the concept or the framework is delivered in Zemek's book. The how is missing. So I think it's important to get that out there so people aren't sort of fumbling around with, how to actually implement the concepts that Zemek presents in the data mesh. So I'm working on that, and actually I'm working on that with Heli Skyho. So Heli from Finland.
There you go.
So that's going to be fun. It's sort of a joint production. So
beautiful. Thank you. So Can you tell us a little bit about some of the themes that you think might be relevant for next year?
Yeah, it's interesting. Looks like QA, QC, I would assume, because of data governance and the issues around data quality, which Scott Ambler spoke about quite eloquently and also quite passionately. Areas around data quality and data governance that are, again, backing up the demand for true quality assurance and quality control type of elements inside of their organizations, and also automated testing. So it's something we definitely need to pay attention to, and something I think we ought to include in the themes. We have gotten recurring requests to have specific sessions on business analysts and sort of, tips and tricks for them with Data Vault and things like that. And so that's another group of sessions that we are hoping to bring as a track for folks coming in. So
Yeah, specifically around bridging the gaps between the BA work and getting the work done in the tech side around data warehousing and BI and analytics.
correct.
So this is really cool stuff. We'll probably also bring some more AI back to the table because by next year, well, it's going to be even further down the chain or down the road in terms of being embedded in these systems.
Yeah.
So I had another question for you. Why would DataRebels choose to sponsor this conference? Aside from the fact that you're COO for DVA, but you also brought your company.
Yeah, I did. Because you have great exposure here to, if I have to say it another way, qualified leads. People are here because they're interested in Data Vault. Some of them have had some experience with it. Others have had no experience with it, and they're sort of curious, or maybe they just got started with Data Vault. And then we have this great community of practitioners, experts, thought leaders in these areas that are here with us as well. And so you have this wonderful sort of mix where people come for answers and to share knowledge. And like no other conference in the world, I am going to say that because I'm biased, but for sure, that I've ever experienced, no other conference has the type of expertise where the experts actually sit down together and just sort of talk during lunch and dinner. You have all this wonderful networking time you just don't get anywhere else. And so the other thing we talked about with this also has to do with, actually bringing some workshops into the sessions. And perhaps this is an area where, some of the vendors like DataRebels would love to be able to run a workshop.
Absolutely.
Or, run some of these Scrum workshops as well, where we actually empower, like put to practice some of the things we learned this year with our audience. So there's going to be some things different. But DataRebels comes here because, number one, I love the community. It is literally the only conference I go to genuinely. I could probably need to change that up, but it is. Let's be honest. And the community is great, but I also have a wonderful opportunity to really talk about what we do as a business, and sort of, I guess, my passion for what I do with Data Vault and how I run my company probably comes through quite a bit. And I'm able to really exchange with people and communicate and connect for potential clients, but more than that, just to share knowledge. And I think that that's important. DataRebels is working on some workshops. We started with one client this year with you. Thank you so much. And it's just been a great opportunity to partner up with you beyond DVA and do some of this, deliver these workshops specifically around, how to get a team started and some really simple steps for accelerating. And that's something that we're trying to bring to the community. And then, of course, with the release of 2.1 coming up in September, we're looking forward to bringing that first to probably Helsinki. So that will be fun. My Finnish friends will be getting first run on Data Vault 2.1 coming up, and maybe a couple of surprises in that class as well. So that'll be good. So DataRebels is busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're busy.
Absolutely. And for those of you out there wondering, do you need to be a Data Vault expert to come to the conference or anywhere close to that? The answer is no. we have everybody from beginners to people who are just curious about Data Vault. They come to the conference. We also have executives and directors and Scrum leads and Agile leads, team leads, BAs, business analysts, and so on. We got everybody from top to bottom in the corporation that they come to the conference. And that's the style of learning that we have. It's really across the board. It's not just technical presentations. It's not just business presentations. We try to hit, everything. So we balance all the presentations that come out. So one of the things you mentioned was workshops, and I ran one this year on something called Agile Analytics, and it was about the business analyst and the workflow to get those requirements into the IT team and how to make it faster, better, cheaper. And there was high demand. Everybody loved it, and they want more of those style workshops. You get 5 or 10 minutes time box to do something, and you're given instructions in a stepwise process, and then you get to experience. So we're going to have a few more of those next year. We also have some hands-on with our exhibitors. They get to run a couple hands-on. So if you've never touched one of these tools, even if you're in the BA space or in the team lead space and you just want to try one out, come on out. It's a guided process. They walk you through a full example and try to get you into the tool and get you through it. So some really cool things. We also have some fun events. This last night we were at the bowling alley. You didn't have to go bowling, but you also didn't have to roll a whole game. You could just roll a couple of balls down the aisle and, have fun. It's all about networking. So we've got some good times here, and it's really, really cool. So anything else that you want to share with the audience that stands out in your mind?
Yeah, I think the other thing too that we had some great customer stories, case stories, the good, the bad, the ugly. FTD presented this year. They did what they're doing is pretty phenomenal, and they're kind of ahead of the curve on a number of things. So that was exciting to see. Wise Digi came out and talked about, they had 4 case studies they were talking about in Finland. And again, the good, the bad, and the ugly, warts and all, as you've always said, how things that are working, things aren't working, perhaps, and, how to fix it, which I thought was, quite astute on their part. The other thing I'll just say this, we also launched something called DataVault Dames. For you ladies out there, I decided that DataRebels was going to take the ladies out and all the women. We have more women coming to our conference than we've ever had in the past. And I just want to encourage the women out in tech right now. This is a great community to get involved in. And we're starting something called DataVault Dames, which will mean that at the conference there will be one night when the ladies get together and encourage one another, support one another, ask questions, and we're probably going to start a webinar also for the ladies out there. Just to get together and have a chat and talk about Data Vault or whatever else may be on their minds, technology-wise. So
absolutely. So thank you for that. We've got a few things to finish up with you. If you're thinking of presenting, we'd encourage you to submit, especially around the ideas. And the reason is it doesn't need to be a finished story. Right. We love the journey, the story of the journey. You don't have to be done with your project. You could be just starting. Anything that helps you along the way. And what we want to know is what lessons you're learning, what struggles you currently have, what successes you may have had or are having right now. As long as it fits within the track, these folks here, they want to hear from you. And don't be afraid to get up in front. Our group is really relaxed. And if you get stuck on something, they'll raise their hand and they'll help you out right there. It's really a pleasant experience presenting compared to what I'll call a stuffed shirt conference, right? So definitely, I'd encourage you to do that. One other thing I want to say is about FTD, for example. Cindy mentioned that they're doing some advanced work. What they're really doing is they're virtualizing their warehouse layer. They're virtualizing. By virtualizing, I mean views. I'm not talking about tooling here. They're virtualizing their information mart layer, and they're succeeding. They're using JSON satellites and JSON links, all within the Data Vault methodology. And they're succeeding at high volume. They're using Google BigQuery, in case you were wondering. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we get. And it's just phenomenal. It's groundbreaking. You hear this stuff and you think, wow, I could do that. And you can. You leave here with great ideas of where you could go with your projects.
Yeah. Well, we also heard from Resultant this year. They did 2 presentations, and they basically said that they probably saved their client, close to $1 million by coming to the conference and getting an answer from a discussion with you for, a couple of questions they had, saved them a massive amount of money for their clients. So, if you think you come here and all you're doing is going to the sessions, when I talk about collaboration with all of the speakers and with Dan, you definitely get that time, and it's incredibly valuable. So,
absolutely. Well, I think that's all the time we have, speaking of time. Okay. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out with me, and we will see you guys next year.
Next year. Oh, one last thing. Sorry, but wait, there's more.
Ginsu knives from $9.99.
We did offer to the conference attendees that if you are coming and you bring a friend, we're doing friends and family this year, please encourage a colleague to come with you, and we have some special discounts for you, especially for the universities. We'd like to get some students in here as well. We've had students in the past, and it's just a wonderful time for students to sort of, get a feel for, what it's like to hang out with a lot of geeky professionals. It's a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah. And as Cindy mentioned, I'm available too during the conference,
Yeah.
And it's all good.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
Well, thank you. We hope to see you next year. Same time, same bat channel.
That's right.
Take care.